from here, any kind of economic pain, and you start getting bad loans on that mortgage debt, the losses are humongous. I don't get the retail banking is safe and investment banking is dangerous and investment banks should be allowed to go to the wall. I don't get that.
Yeah, I think if you looked at, you're right, I think if you looked at the balance sheets of the big banks today, and you mark to market the assets they have on their portfolios, and not just this country, but I particularly look at France or Spain, they're completely underwater. They're certainly the Spanish banks and big French banks. You know, our banks are getting their house in order, which is why ordinary people are finding it hard to get loans as they're cleaning up their balance sheets, improving liquidity and so on.
But the ring fence is not going to work then, in the sense that, in the terms that have been set out by George Osborne, that this will mean we won't have a similar style crash that we experienced in 2008, that investment arms of banks won't be able to drag down the retail. This is cosmetic.
This is why ring fencing is the jury is still out. As the Parliamentary Banking Commission said, they said this is one way of doing it. Don't necessarily split them, but keep in reserve, and this is the crucial thing, just in case, the power to have full separation. And this is also where it's only a partial climb down from the Chancellor. He said, well, I'll do the reserve bank by bank by bank, but what we need in reserve is a power to have that separation across the board between retail and investment banking. If that isn't there, then this is a sort of lawyer's charter for banks to be contesting one by one by one. You've got to get serious, and if you're going to electrify this ring fence, electrify it properly.
Well,
don't just put up a sign.
He is going to electrify the...
Well, yeah, but he's only partially been forced to climb down because he would be defeated in the House of Lords.
I want to deal with the toxic issue is.
Part of the bank.
The toxic issue of the banking, actually, a lot of it was, unfortunately, though, in derivatives trading. And people, for example, a lot of the derivatives out there were being traded 200 to 1 in terms of the assets underlying those derivatives to what the market was trading out there. And I think that's really the dangerous part. Wrapping up mortgages is a separate issue, is an issue, but what I think we need to have there is more transparency in those pools of mortgages that were being wrapped up, so we understand the assets underlying those pools. But the real danger that we're trying to separate out is the proprietary trading with the investment banks and certainly the derivatives trading, which can be dangerous.
Is it going to make London less attractive in terms of being a financial centre?
If everyone around the world did all the regulation together, absolutely not, because it's a relative game. If we do it just in the UK and other places don't do it, then we will lose out, and that is not a good thing. The trouble is getting the regulation to happen all over the world. And there's a lot of countries who look at the City of London with covetous eyes because it makes a lot of money in the good times, and that is the problem.
And we do need a more sustainable financial services sector, but we can't have the taxpayer having to be on the hook again for what happened when the banks
but Northern Rock
overextended themselves.
That is my point.
Not an investment bank.
And that's why the leverage ratio is also important. The Chancellor, I don't think, is going to put a clause in the bill on that.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. I know we could do a whole programme on this, but I'm going to have to say goodbye. Goodbye to you two. And goodbye to our guest of the day, Louise
It's been real fun. It's been a real pleasure.
Very much. Now,